Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing. Tonight is bonfire night, so you may hear the occasional firework in the background, but that is not going to stop us from reading a book. Reading Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Volume 2. So, let's crack on, shall we? How ineptly cometh the word virtue out of their mouth, and when they say, I am just, it always soundeth like, I am just revenged. With their virtues they want to scratch out the eyes of their enemies, and they elevate themselves only that they may lower others. And again there are those who sit in their swamp, and speak thus from among the bulrushes. Virtue, that is to sit quietly in the swamp. We bite no one, and go out of the way of him who would bite. And in all matters we have the opinion that is given us. And again there are those who love attitudes and think that virtue is a sort of attitude. Their knees continually adore, and their hands are eulogies of virtue, but their heart knoweth naught thereof. And again there are those who regard it as virtue to say, virtue is necessary, but after all they believe only that policemen are necessary. And many a one who cannot see men's loftiness calleth it virtue to see their baseness far too well. Thus calleth he his evil eye virtue. And some want to be edified and raised up, and call it virtue. And others want to be cast down, and likewise call it virtue. And thus do almost all think that they participate in virtue, and at least every one claimeth to be an authority on good and evil. But Zarathustra came not to say unto all those liars and fools, What do ye know of virtue? What could ye know of virtue? But that ye, my friends, might become weary of the old words which ye have learned from the fools and liars. That ye might become weary of the words reward, retribution, punishment, righteous vengeance. That ye might become weary of saying that an action is good is because it is unselfish. My friends, that your very self be in your action, as the mother is in the child, let that be your formula of virtue. Verily I have taken from you 100 formulae, and your virtue's favourite playthings. And now ye upbraid me, as children upbraid. They played by the sea, then came there a wave, and swept their playthings into the deep, and now do they cry. But the same wave shall bring them new playthings, and spread before them new speckled shells. Thus will they be comforted, and like them shall ye also, my friends, have your comforting, and new speckled shells. Thus spake Zarathustra. 28. The Rabble. Life is a well of delight, but where the rabble also drink, there all fountains are poisoned. To everything cleanly am I well disposed, but I hate to see the grinning mouths and the thirst of the unclean. They cast their eye down into the fountain, and now glanceth up to me their odious smile out of the fountain. The holy water have they poisoned with their lustfulness, and when they called their filthy dreams delight, then poisoned they also the words. Indignant becometh the flame when they put their damp hearts to the fire. The spirit itself bubbleth and smoketh when the rabble approach the fire. Mawkish and over-mellow become the fruit in their hands. Unsteady and withered at the top, doth their luck make the fruit tree. And many a one who hath turned away from life hath only turned away from the rabble. He hated to share with them fountain, flame, and fruit. And many a one who hath gone into the wilderness, and suffered thirst with beasts of prey, disliked only to sit at the cistern with filthy camel-drivers. And many a one who hath come along as a destroyer, and as a hailstorm to all cornfields, wanted merely to put his foot into the jaws of the rabble, and thus stop their throat. And it is not the mouthful which hath most choked me, to know that life itself requireth enmity and death and torture crosses. But I asked once, and suffocated almost with my question, What? Is the rabble also necessary for life? Are poisoned fountains necessary, and stinking fires and filthy dreams and maggots in the bread of life? Not my hatred, but my loathing, gnawed hungrily at my life. Ah, oft times became I weary of spirit, when I found even the rabble spiritual. And on the rulers turned I my back, when I saw what they now called ruling, to traffic and bargain for power with the rabble. Amongst peoples of a strange language did I dwell, with stopped ears, so that the language of their trafficking might remain strange unto me, and their bargaining for power. And holding my nose, I morosely through all yesterdays and todays, verily, badly smell all yesterdays and todays of the scribbling rabble. Like a cripple become deaf and blind and dumb, thus have I lived long, that I might not live with the power rabble, the scribe rabble, and the pleasure rabble. Toilsomely did my spirit mount stairs, and cautiously arms of delight were its refreshment. On the staff did life creep along with the blind one. What hath happened unto me? How have I freed myself from loathing? Who hath rejuvenated mine eye? How have I flown to the height where no rabble any longer sit at the wells? Did my loathing itself create for me wings and fountain divining powers? Verily, to the loftiest height had I to fly, to find again the well of delight. Oh, I have found it, my brethren. Here on the loftiest height bubbleth up for me the well of delight. And there is a life at whose waters none of the rabble drink with me. Almost too violently dost thou flow for me, thou fountain of delight, and often emptiest thou the goblet again in wanting to fill it. And yet must I learn to approach thee more modestly. Far too violently doth my heart still flow towards thee, my heart on which my summer burneth, my short, hot, melancholy, over-happy summer. How my summer heart longeth for thy coolness. Past the lingering distress of my spring, past the wickedness of my snowflakes in June, summer have I become entirely, and summer noontide. A summer on the loftiest height, with cold fountains and blissful stillness. O come, my friends, that the stillness may become more blissful. For this is our height and our home. Too high and steep do we here dwell for all uncleanly ones and their thirst. Cast but your pure eyes into the well of my delight, my friends. How could it become turbid thereby? It shall laugh back to you with its purity. On the tree of the future build we our nest. Eagles shall bring us lone ones food in their beaks. Verily, no food of which the impure could be fellow partakers. Fire would they think they devoured, and burn their mouths. Verily, no abodes do we keep here ready for the impure. An ice cave to their bodies would be our happiness be, and to their spirits. And as strong winds will we live above them. Neighbours to the eagles, neighbours to the snow, neighbours to the sun, thus live the strong winds. And like a wind will I one day blow amongst them, and with my spirit take the breath from their spirit. Thus willeth my future. Verily a strong wind is Zarathustra to all low places, and this counsel counselleth he to his enemies, and to whatever spitteth and speweth. Take care not to spit against the wind. Thus spake Zarathustra. And with that, we come to the end of the chapter, but we are going to do a little bit of blue time-reversing fire. Because we are getting dangerously close to the 0 time. And we've finished reading a little bit earlier than we otherwise would expect to. Even with the fact that we've done 10 pages or 11 pages. I'm never really quite sure. We've done some pages, that's for certain. So we just need to get ourselves a little bit more time in the basket, or in the hourglass, whatever you want to call it. So we'll give ourselves as much time as we can on one blue fire's worth today, and then in the future, in the next few days, we will try to get another blue fire going. See if we can make even more time. I think we're about to run out of blue fire. There we go. Back up to 18 days. Not too bad, not too bad. But with that, I am also going to say thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon or night, no matter what time of day it is. I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow with more of The Longing. Goodbye.